Okay, it's on. Hello, this is Ryan Tarry. Today's date is Friday, June 16th, 2023, and I'm making this video for my practicum course of NFPA 1041 Fire Service Instructor from JIBC. As you can see, I have my lesson plan here that we'll be teaching today, that I'll be submitting with the project, and I have my lovely student. And we may also have a second student. Our cat is quite curious, so she may be in the video as well at times. Apologies for that. But let's get started. So hello everybody, my name is Ryan. I'm a fire service instructor, and today I will be teaching you about ropes and knots. We're going to learn the clove hitch, the bow line, and a half hitch today, and how to use them to hoist a fire extinguisher and an axe if we were to need to access them on another story of a building from the ground. So I'm also going to go ahead with a safety briefing. So we don't have too many hazards here today, but there is of course the axe. It is sharp. We have the cover on it. We're going to leave that on for now. The fire extinguisher should be pretty safe, and a rope should be pretty safe. If at any time somebody feels unsafe during the lesson or sees something dangerous, they can yell freeze, and we'll stop all activity. Whatever we're doing, we'll stop immediately. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. Good. Okay, then let's get started. So the first knot we're going to learn is the bow line. So I'll show you how to do it first. So in order to do a bow line, we're going to take the end of our rope, and we're going to make a loop in it, just like this. And then we're going to take the open end of our rope here and pass it through the loop we just made, around the back of the extra part of the rope, and then through the loop again, and then we can pull it tight. And this is our bow line knot. So I'll show you one more time, just to reiterate. So we're going to take our rope and make a loop in it. Okay? Now we're going to pass the end of the rope through the loop, around the back of the other end of the rope, and through the loop again, and then pull it tight. So now I'm going to get you to try and do it, and I will help you with it if you need. So I can show you it again here closely, and if you want to follow my steps, okay. So you can take your rope like this and make a loop. Okay. And then you can take your end of your rope and pass it through your loop, and then around the back.
Sorry, do that again.
Yeah. So we're through the loop, around, can you see if I pass my hand? Around the back of the tail, and then through the first loop that you made. And then if you hold both sides, you can tighten it like that.
Okay, I screwed up.
That's okay, we'll try it again then. Okay. So we're gonna make our loop.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, loop.
And then we will put this part through the loop.
Back.
Yep. And then we're gonna go.
Oh, but I don't have two loops when I do that.
Okay.
Okay, like this? Yeah, like that, right?
Yep. So we made our loop, our first loop. And we make, this is our second loop.
Yeah.
So this is the part that we end up with, right?
Okay, the
So
second
then-
loop that we just made?
Yep. So then you take this part of your rope.
Yeah.
And you're gonna take it around the back of this part. Okay. And then through your first loop that you made again.
Okay, I think that's what I did wrong.
Okay. And then if you hold these two parts with your hand, then you can pull on the loop and this part and tighten it up. Good.
It is good, it just...
Perfect. Now can you do it with no assistance?
try.
and I can help you again if you need.
This is supposed to be fun.
So you want your first loop
And then do the back, or do the front?
through the front, I guess you'd call it, of your first loop, around your loose section there. Okay. So I think that's the part you're messing up on there.
Oh.
So you want to go through your loop once only,
Okay.
and then around this part of the rope, the part that's not yet tied into anything,
Mm-hmm.
and then go back through your first loop again. And then you can tighten it. There you go. Okay, makes sense?
Yeah.
You want to try one more time then?
Sure.
Okay. It's a little bit tricky remembering which loop is which.
Yeah, kinda.
Okay. Would it help
No.
to explain it a different way?
I think I have.
Okay. I think you have it as well.
Should I go through this one?
Yeah. There you go. Awesome. So then I'll show you how to tie it around something, which can be a little bit confusing as well, but it's exactly the same. So what you do in order to tie it around something, so we'll tie it around this part of the axe, which is what we're going to do later.
Mm-hmm.
So you make your first loop, same as you would. And then when you go to make your second loop, that's when you pass it through the object that you're tying around. So you put it through there, and then you continue with it through your loop, around the back, and through your loop again. And then you can have it to be tied around. Do you want to give that a shot?
Sure.
Okay. Okay.
So let's make my first loop.
Yep.
And then this goes around.
Correct.
And then it goes in here.
Yep.
And then under here.
Yep.
And then through this.
And then back through your first loop.
That was the first loop.
That's your second loop.
Oh.
I did. Maybe I was, oh no, you got it. Perfect. That's actually pretty much exactly how we're gonna do it when we tie the axe, because we don't want a big great loop on it, so that's good. All right, do you feel comfortable with the bowline knot right now?
Yep.
Okay, it looks really good. I don't really have any comments to give you on it. So I guess then we can move on to our next knot, which is the clove hitch. Well, Sierra's home, she's gonna be in our video for a second. We're gonna have another roommate walking in here, so we're gonna have a second student for a few seconds maybe. So the clove hitch knot, we actually do need something to tie it around. It's not a knot that you can do without tying something in it, if that makes sense. So I can show you it. So in order to do a clove hitch, we're gonna take our rope like this again.
Do you want me to do it with you?
Sure. And we're going to fold this end over like this, and this end over like this. So we have two loops.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to cross our loops over like this.
And just, can you repeat that?
Yeah. So we have our two loops. And we're going to cross them over like this. And then our object will go in the middle here.
Okay.
And that's when you can tighten the rope up and make the knot. We're
Did
just
you
doing
know how to make a
we're
knot?
just doing a video for
Yeah, for high school.
class that I'm doing.
Sorry.
No problem. I told them you were coming in, so they know. So I'll show you it around the axe handle here, because we'll be using it on the fire extinguisher, so I'll show you on the fire extinguisher.
Okay.
So we're going to, and the way I like to do it, like you can make this loop and then make this loop. I like to just simplify it by taking it with my hands and just turning them both to make the loops at the same time. So you just turn your hands like
Yeah. I'm
towards
probably
each
not
other,
gonna
kind
do
of, if
that.
that makes sense. But alternatively, you can make this loop. So on this loop, the rope goes, this part goes in front of the original
Yeah.
rope, and on the other side goes, well, this rope's kind of stiff. It ends up going behind it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you can see this one goes in front and the other one goes behind
Yeah.
if this thing was not so shredded section. So once you have these two loops, the one with the part that goes behind goes in front of the other one. Okay. And then it makes this circular hole like this. And that's where you put it around your fire extinguisher and you just tie it up like that. Okay? So this is just a friction based knot. It just holds itself on there tight. The tighter you pull it, the tighter it'll stay on there. This isn't actually the best rope for doing it because it kind of slides apart a little bit, but it still will work. Okay? So I'll get you to try it, and then I'm going to show you the half hitch as well because the half hitch kind of is part of it as well. So I'll let you try tying it around the fire extinguisher. Yeah, that looks good, I think. Yeah. You almost needed a table or something, I guess. Perfect. I think, let's see. I think you crossed them over the wrong way, possibly.
Okay, just wait, so watch.
Yeah.
So in front,
Yeah, so you've got your one in front
behind.
and your one behind.
Is that also in front though? Oh no.
No, you've got it right. So your behind one
Yes.
goes on top of your
Ah,
front
that's
one.
what I was doing.
Oh, we put them backwards. Yeah, because then they'll just fall apart if you do them the wrong way.
Oh, yeah, that makes
So then you
sense.
put it over the fire extinguisher like that, and then just tighten it up, and it'll stay tight just like that. Perfect. So now can you demonstrate? I know you just kind of did, but can you demonstrate it with no help, just to make sure that you know how to do it? Perfect. Okay, looks good. Do you have any questions right now at all on either of these knots?
No.
Okay. So the bowline, they're obviously two very different knots. They can both be used to hoist things, which is what we're going to practice next after we do the half hitch. The only obviously difference is that the bowline uses like the rope to hold itself up, right? Like it uses the loop. And the clove hitch just uses its own friction because technically the clove hitch is not a knot. That's why it's called a hitch, right? Because if you make a clove hitch and don't put anything in it, it'll just come apart.
Yeah.
So it actually needs that something in the middle to hold itself together with the friction. Okay. So the next one that we're going to show you is also a hitch. And it's called the half hitch, and it's the simplest of the three knots we'll call them all knots, I guess, 3 knots that we're doing today. So in order to do the half hitch, we're actually going to have to do a clove hitch first, which is why I showed you it first. So we're going to make our clove hitch, and we're going to put it on our fire extinguisher. Like that. And then to do it, so the half hitch, what the half hitch is for, so we can have our clove hitch on there to hold the thing, but so that it doesn't just flip upside down and come out.
Oh, okay.
So to do the half hitch, we're just going to make a loop in our rope, like this, And it's important to have, you can see it's this way. And we're gonna be lifting the fire extinguisher with this side of the rope. So it needs to be below the other side.
Right.
Because if it's like this, it'll just come
Yeah.
undone. So it needs to go like this. And then we just put it over the extinguisher. And it ends up like that. And then we'll do a second one. And we'll put it over there and we'll put it like under the handle and stuff here. And then, it got a little messy on me there. I'll show you again here. So we're gonna go with our cold pitch here, same as before. I'm just gonna hold it tight with my foot while I do it so it doesn't come off. And then our first half pitch, we'll go like kind of in the middle of the extinguisher here. And then our second half pitch, we'll go under the handle, like that. That kind of makes sense? Okay. So obviously we can't just do, like if we just did a half hitch without the cold pitch at the bottom, this would be a very not smart way to lift the fire extinguisher up, because it would have no friction strength at the bottom and it would just slide out like that, right? And you'd have to do a whole bunch of half hitches and it wouldn't be very safe. Okay. So I'll get you to just show me, I guess you'll have to do your cold pitch again and then you'll have to do your half hitch. So it will be like hoisting the extinguisher, but we'll do the half hitch and then we'll do the hoisting afterwards. And while you do this, I want you to think of any questions that you might have as we go along here.
Doesn't matter which side I use.
Just depends which side you're going to be hoisting with, I guess, technically. So not really, for the sake of this. So I'll explain once you do it actually, so you can go ahead and do it, and then we'll talk a little bit more after.
Which way again?
So you need your end that you're going to be lifting with needs
Yeah.
to be under the end that you're not. So it needs to be,
So
this needs to be the lifting end, right?
I'm gonna lift with this one.
Okay, so
Right?
then that's right way, yeah.
Except I should go a little lower down, I think.
Sure. So then if you lift this part up, then it'll stay down, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's your half hitch, so that's good.
And then do it again?
Yeah, sure, you can do it again just for another practice. So then obviously, this would be the end of the rope that you would use to lift the fire extinguisher with, just like that. And then this end, we could use as something that's called a tag line. So if we were doing this for real and say I was on the second story of a building and I needed this fire extinguisher for whatever reason, and you were gonna tie it and send it up to me, if you were to just tie it on like that, and this rope was like real long or whatever and it could reach up to the second story, and I started pulling it up, what do you think is gonna happen to the fire extinguisher?
I don't know.
Pretend it's really windy out
Oh, it's gonna
while we do this.
lose balance, I guess.
It's gonna swing all over the place and like smash against the wall and whatever else. So then you on the ground, what you're gonna do is you're gonna use this end as what's called a tag line.
To stabilize it.
So to stabilize it, exactly. So we don't have enough rope to do a thing up to a second story building. But if you were to lift on that end,
Do you want me to?
yeah, then I can hold it away from the building, from the ground, instead of having it swing all around. So I would be lifting, or you, I guess, in this one, you would be lifting it up to the top of the building,
Yeah.
and I would be controlling the tag line and feeding it up to you as we go so that we don't smash it all around and break it or explode it or
Makes
whatever.
sense, yeah.
Okay? So do you have any questions at this point? Because you seem pretty confident in all three of these so far.
Nope, I think I'm okay.
Okay. So can you think of any examples of when we would use a bowline knot or a clove hitch knot?
Well, when you wanted anything up high,
When we want anything up high, right?
right? Like,
Yeah.
and you can't go in the building and take the stairs, obviously, because it'd probably
Right.
be on fire.
Sure. So it would be some other good examples of when we'd use them. So bowline, a clove hitch, it is a good example. A clove hitch is a really good knot for doing a hoist and stuff because you don't need the end of the rope to do it, right? You can tie the clove hitch in the middle of the rope.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas the bowline, I want to say there is a way you can maybe tie a bowline without having the end, but it's pretty advanced and I'm not even sure how to do it. But if you need a bowline, you need the end of the rope, right? And obviously they serve a different purpose because the bowline is a solid, like standalone knot that you can wrap around anything and do. And a clove hitch, you need to be able to tie it around something. And you need to be able to put it over the thing as well, right?
So when would you use a bowline?
So a bowline is what we're going to use for the axe because it's got this loop here, or the cover of the axe has this loop, and we're going to use that just for a better demonstration of why you would use a bowline instead, because you wouldn't be able to get a clove hitch around this part.
Right, but could you do it around the handle, technically?
You could do it around the handle. But if for the sake of this demonstration, you might, when you're out in the firefighting world and you decide that you want to hoist an axe up, you might opt to just do a clove hitch around the handle and hoist it that way. So you could just clove hitch it. And this actually has a nice handle on it at the bottom here that you would be able to use that as well, and you probably put some half hitches as well. But for the sake of this demonstration, we're going to use the cover on the axe just because we like safety and we don't want to lift our axe up in the house here and with no cover, just on the off chance that the rope was to break or the axe were to fall or something and break the floor or crush our toes or something, right? So we wouldn't be able to clove hitch around this loop, right? Because we need something to put it over. We could still go ahead and we could put it over this and we could cinch it up into there. But just for demonstration purposes, we'll use the handle. So, because it kind of is a good visual representation of why both these knots need to exist and why you can't just use one, right? Okay. So now, where are we at here? That was our question period. So we've kind of already covered how to tie the extinguisher.
Yeah.
Because that was kind of part of the demonstration with the half hitch. So we've covered that. Do you feel confident in doing that, or do you want me to go over it again?
No, I think
It's making sense?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Then we will demonstrate how to do the axe, and then we will put you to a test, and we'll see you do these knots, and we'll see you hoist them up with no help. If you can do that, then you can pass this class and get your Ryan Terry rope and knot certificate. So for the axe, what we're going to do is we're going to start with our bowline. So we're going to make our bowline knot, and we're going to put it through this as we kind of were just discussing.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to make our bowline knot, and I'm not going to go through the steps of the bowline again. We can go through them one more time if you would like afterwards. So I know it's a little bit more of a complex knot than the clove hitch. So we're going to tie our bowline knot just like that. And technically we could just hoist our axe up like this, but it's kind of loosey-goosey and it's kind of not all that stable. So we're going to turn it over here, and we're going to do a couple of our fancy little half hitches. And we're gonna hoist it up this way. Because now it's nice and it, like, obviously it can still wobble around, but it's nice and straight, it's nice and stable. It's not gonna go anywhere because our pull line is gonna keep these half hitches nice and tight while we hoist it up, right? So we can give it a good jostle and it's pretty solid. It's not gonna fall. So I'll show you one more time, just to make sure. Oops, I untied my bow line like a goofball. So we're going to start with our bow line knot. Oops. And we are going to want to make this bow line relatively tight on here. So we might as well have it nice and snug. And you did do that earlier, which was good. As opposed to having it be like a big, I'll show you what I mean. If we had a giant second loop on our bow line, if we were to make it real big like this, so we'll make it nice and big here. And again, like this will be a stable knot, like it's not gonna change the strength of it or change how it works or anything. It's just kind of big, bulky, there's more room for things to slide around or get kind of tangled in it. You could end up with it being hooked under here or being, you know, around the front of the axe or something and making a bit more mess like that for the person that you're passing it up to.
Oh, yeah.
If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So we do want to make our bow line. See, now I'm gonna have to figure out how to undo this somehow. So we do want to make our bow line, our second loop, nice and small with this, so it's nice and tight to the handle of the axe here, if that makes sense. So we'll make our loops. We'll make our second loop nice and small and tight. We'll tie our bow line off. And then we'll turn our axe like this. And we will make our half hitches. And we'll hoist our axe up. Alternatively, I guess if you wanted to make it extra secure, you could do your half hitch. You could do as many half hitches as you want, really. But you could do a second half hitch here. And if you're really a keener, you could put a clove hitch at the top of this as well, just for some extra security. And then it would be really nice and tight. See, now that I've got this on here, these are even a little bit loose, so like you can see just the how strong the clove hitch is with the friction there. So you could use both of these knots to hoist the axe if you saw fit. Is all that making sense?
Yep.
Do you remember how to tie the bow line?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. So I'm not gonna make you demonstrate how to tie the extinguisher up again, or I'm not gonna like walk you through it and do the steps with you again or whatever, because you know how to do it.
Yeah.
So I'll let you, we're gonna practice on the axe here, so we'll get you to do your bow line and your half hitches on the axe.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end, after you're finished, we will we'll do our test and we'll see if you can hoist the fire extinguisher and hoist the axe safely without dropping them. And if you need help with your knots here, you can tell me and I'll help you.
Oh, I guess I was just going
I was gonna say, it looks like a good bow line, but it's not gonna be any good if it's not around the axe. Perfect. I was wondering, I saw that you found where the extra loop needed to be, even though it kind of disappeared, like you had made it real small.
Mm-hmm.
That's a nice tight rope on there, so that's perfect.
And then you want me to do
That's right.
that. Then another one.
And another one.
I think I made that right here. Needs to be.
Awesome. Okay, I'll have a look. And it seems like it's pretty good. And then if we had, so this would be just our little tag line. So you've got your tag line, your hoisting line, your half hitches, and your bolt line all tied up on there. So it's really good. Do you have any questions before your evaluation starts?
I don't think so.
Okay. You ready then? Okay. So now we're gonna do it blindfolded. Just kidding. Okay. So we'll start by just doing the knots first. So I guess we can demonstrate the clove hitch and the half hitches on the extinguisher, and then you can hoist it. And then I will get you, I guess it doesn't matter, you can do a bow line on the axe and the half hitches on the axe and hoist it as well. Okay? So start with the extinguisher, just since we went over it a few minutes ago. Give it a little bit of a challenge remembering.
Remember you wanted me to do this one again?
No, and then